Hi guys.
Hello.
Hi Eric
Hi.
and Tony.
Hi.
Okay, I have a question for the both of you.
Okay.
Assuming you're earning 100,000 monthly, would you rather buy a car first or a piece of land?
If I was earning 100K gross
Yes.
and this is my first year of working or my second year and I haven't saved up enough, I would buy a car first.
For me, I will definitely go for a piece of land. With 100K, probably I'll have to go in the outskirts, but I will go for a piece of land.
Okay, and what are the factors that you would consider for you to buy the car?
Right. I think for me, I'm choosing to buy a car first. Of course, I'm going to save up for a couple of months, maybe even up to the second year of employment before I can afford to buy a car. It's convenience. In today's economy, you don't really want to depend on one source of income. So I want to be convinced to be able to move around, spend as little time as I can on traffic, and take up other gigs. And also, I think having a car will just give me an easy time living my life.
Okay, Tony, what are the reasons that you would use to consider buying land?
For me, it's because I don't want to pay rent for long. So eventually I will want to buy a piece of land that I can build on. Or if not, it can appreciate and I sell it. Or I build rentals, but it's an appreciating asset. So as a young man, I want to be wealthy by the time I'm in my 30s, assuming this job I'm having it in my late 20s, then I can have quite a lucrative piece of land by the time I'm in my mid 30s. Yeah.
Eric, what do you think of Tony's argument?
Well, I think this is the very Kenyan way of looking at things. That you want to own a piece of land, it's going to appreciate. We know the appreciation levels for land are not that high. If you're buying land that is highly appreciating, it's probably going to be very expensive. On a 100K salary gross, you're probably making about 70 something thousand. You're paying rent. So you're probably able to save about 20,000 every month. So you can imagine how long it takes for you to save up to buy land that will appreciate. So while the thinking is right, I think unless you have other sources of income, on a salary, then you will buy land, say, in the outskirts of Nanyuki, and that land will stay for 5 years without ever appreciating. So I think if the objective is to buy land that is going to be an investment, you would rather wait up until you're earning more money, instead of doing it in your first, second, or third years of work. That's what I think.
Tony, what do you think of Eric's argument?
I think it's a good idea when you come from a wealthy family, but if you are starting from scratch, then starting with land is the most safest investment for you because a car is a depreciating asset and it takes a lot of money to maintain a car. You pay insurance, sometimes a matatu will hit you and they run away. You have to use your money for repairs, you have to use fuel, wear and tear. For a piece of land, even if I was to buy a piece of land and never use it for the next 5 years, it will be a lot more than the vehicle. It's not always guaranteed that your land will appreciate at that level. But if you invest in the right place and you're lucky, you can reap a lot more money within a very short period of time compared to buying a piece of land that even the buying cost, these things, a car and a piece of land will probably fetch around the same price. So maybe for someone earning 100K, that will be 500K. So the saving and whatever will take the same amount of time. But for me, as I'm saving up, I could be planting some maize. Probably I bought the land close to where my folks live. I could be having a few goats there. But with a piece of land, with a car, on top of making the savings towards the land, you also incur in cost maintaining the car.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how would you navigate the financial aspect of it, especially, let's say, the initial cost? And we also hear that the process of acquiring land can be tedious and long. How would you navigate around that?
I don't think it's a lot of work when you have the right, you use the right channel, so you identify a piece of land from someone with can be trusted. The same thing with a car. And you also get a lawyer to have the land sale agreement to do the searches so that you buy without any encumbrances, as the lawyers would say.
Okay, Eric. Eric, how would you justify the financial commitment of purchasing a car, considering the cost like maintenance and depreciation?
Right. I think the best case for a car is when you're buying a car which has in some way will have a direct impact on the income that you're earning. So that could even mean taking some financing to purchase the car if you have a side business. Remember that you're employed. If you have a side business, maybe a supplies, you could even be buying a car that you can be renting out, because people are becoming more open to renting cars than buying. So the reason why, as a first as an early career professional, I would buy a car is if I'm able to make more money using that car directly. Then, while I may incur an initial cost, either taking a financing product if I'm very sure that I'm getting into business, or saving up for 2 or more years to get that 500K to buy, which is essentially going to be a locally used car, I really need to be thinking about how is this car going to make me some money. Of course, it is definitely risky that buying a car comes with maintenance. Even with insurance, sometimes you still have to, there's the insurance cost itself, and there's the off-pocket cost. The cost of fuel too is quite significant. So that's why you have to tie it to income.
What advice would you give to someone who's torn between buying a car or a piece of land?
If you're torn, I will ask you to consider your personal situation, like what are your priorities. If you are unable to probably comfortably meet the cost of maintaining a car, then it's not a good idea. If you already have, for example, you have inherited a lot of land, then it may not make sense for you to continue increasing. If, for example, you like living in an apartment, you don't like building in the far-flung areas, it may not work for you. For other people, if you are unhappy commuting with a matatu, it's all about yourself, because you work for the money. This is what matters to you. If you are constantly in a bad mood after commuting in the noisy Githurai buses, then it may make sense for your peace of mind to get a car if you can afford it. Yeah.
What about you, Eric?
I think kuna formula. It all depend na vile unataka na maisha yako. But remember, the money that you're earning today is more important than any money that you're going to earn into the future. And how you use it today is going to actually directly affect your future unless you land on a windfall. So if getting a vehicle that has some business use is going to actually improve your future financial situation, remember, this is your first years of working. And if you speak to most people, you will know that you have to accommodate a little bit of uncomfortability to eat evil. So then, getting a car for the purposes of matching up with the colleagues maybe in your organization that are in the parking lot might be not such a smart idea. You don't know how long those guys have been working. So then, you will need to determine what is valuable to you. Is it short-term comfort or long-term stability? It doesn't mean that buying a piece of land is going to give you long-term stability. Maybe even these two are not the only options. Maybe it's not between buying a car and buying land. Maybe the question is investing or consuming, right? So you may opt to actually save up, buy some stocks. There's even options now to buy real estate investment trusts where you actually own a piece of land without a piece of income generating real estate without actually having a title deed. So explore your options and think long term. Jipange pole pole and your life will be more simpler.
Okay, thank you so much.
Shukran sana.